Welcome to Fictional Problems, the podcast where we discuss all things writing, in association with Speculative Fiction Ireland. On today's episode, we discuss the idea of placeholder characters and the effect of presupposition of characters' abilities on the entertainment of the story. We talk about Mary Sue's, Gary Stu's, and the danger of readers feeling cheated in relation to character development. Join us. And welcome back to Fictional Problems, the podcast? No, it's not a podcast. That's a totally different thing. The podcast where we discuss all things writing. With myself, Gary J. Martin.
And myself, A.R. McNevin.
Looking very confused.
A prodcast. Would that be one of those sex podcasts?
Well, it's not this one, anyway.
You'll call me daddy or one of those things. Am I writing that right?
If that's what people were expecting, they should.
Yeah, you've clicked the wrong button. It's on your other favourites, on the other account that you don't tell people about.
Yeah. So, Al, we are going today to talk about, I'm going to hand it over to you to explain the topic of today's conversation.
Sure. So, I guess placeholder characters.
Yeah.
The characters that are there and you don't have to do any work on the character. They're just right. They're just there. That might not be a great explanation, so I'm going to go. I'll
an example.
The prime example. Sherlock Holmes. If you are reading a Sherlock Holmes novel, or especially an adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, or if you're watching it or whatnot, then in the vast majority of the time, they don't bother showing you how the mystery was solved. All they need to say is Sherlock Holmes figured it out.
Yeah, it's like saying a wizard did it.
Exactly. It is a device, a massive device which says this person can't figure it out. Whether you gender swap them, whatever you do, he, she, it is the person who just figures it out.
Sherlock Holmes famously hated by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
At the end.
It's so much so that he decided to kill him.
And then he
at the Reichenbach Falls.
And then brought him back.
Yeah, 7 years later or something like that. After enormous public pressure.
Sure.
He actually went, oh, all right then.
But I guess public pressure those days happens slower because they have penmanship and fact. No, it was fact. It was telegraph.
Yeah. So
a very slow public pressure.
It didn't go viral on the internet.
No, it didn't yet. Not yet. But the idea that a good character could say compare Holmes to would be Poirot, and in all of the stories of these, at least I should say all stories that I've read and seen of Hercule Poirot, you see him going through his process.
Yeah.
He is said to be a great detective, but it's almost in each story he has to prove he's a great detective. In the adaptations of, say, Holmes, whether it be kind of TV shows like Elementary, or Sherlock. Or the Moffat adaptation, absolutely. Well, the reason why I hesitate for that one is that they started off, like the Moffat's Sherlock is a good example of them starting off saying, look at how he sees things.
Yes.
So they spent time going, this is how he's figuring them out. Then they abandoned that, and they just went off half cocked, and they didn't even bother. Like, indeed, one of the clapbacks against that series was the Reichenbach idea, where he killed himself and he came back and no explanation was given. It was just, it's Sherlock.
Yeah, he just did it.
Yeah. He can figure it out because he could conspire, he could do all this stuff, and it's just no answer was given because it's Sherlock.
Yeah. So was it a case of? Do you think perhaps that one of the mistakes made was that in the starting off the first seasons, like you were saying, they were explaining his thought process, how we do, and did at some point maybe someone went, okay, we've shown that, we'll take that for given. So the audience don't want to see that; they just want to see him solving crimes, and they missed the trick of no, the audience want to see him in his process. They want to see him figuring it out. They want like that's why so many people enjoyed the first season.
Sure.
And then they just missed a trick and just made it a shorthand of Sherlock did it.
Yeah.
That seems to be what happened.
I would say yes, that could have been a process that I remember at the end of Scandal in Bavaria, I think it's, or the one with their version of Irene Adler. He figured out. He basically, again, he could see all his process. He could see everything's being figured out, and then the things that the audience aren't aware of. But it was like, you can see why he thought about this.
Yes,
because it's just 1 inch away. I could have figured that out if given enough time. He just does it much quicker.
Yes,
but I think that episode ended with him saving her life, and it was a no explanation provided, but people still liked that because it was him coming to the aid at the end, and that the hope of the two of them getting together at the end. The shippers. That's great. But that was a coda. It was the last moment of the overall, which everything else was explained.
Yeah,
and that's great. So I think they took the wrong lesson from the end.
I think so. Yeah,
that they went, the audience doesn't need it, or, and this is my point in raising this as a topic, is that the writer couldn't figure it out.
Yes.
That the writer wanted to go bigger and bigger and bigger. I think I was a fan of Moffat for a very, very long time. His contribution to Doctor Who is some of the best work that's ever been done in that franchise. And his first few seasons of Sherlock are also fantastic. Yeah. But the yearning to get bigger and bigger and bigger, perhaps that was the cause, or that they simply couldn't figure out how to do the mysteries anymore, or they tricked themselves out of it. They go, this is obvious.
Yeah.
When that is I'm getting to my conclusion far too quickly. But it was
maybe was it a case of maybe they were going, okay, well, if we shorten this particular amount of if we shorten this explanation or that explanation of him actually doing the things, which is why people are tuning in, then we can spend more time on the relationship between Holmes and Watson, or a relationship between...
Sure, and there was a lot of relationship stuff that was thrown in, absolutely. That
character development beyond Sherlock's solving the crime.
Which is not what the... Well, things, it is not necessarily not what the audience wants.
Yeah.
Because, say, Elementary, that TV show went on for several seasons. Actually, all you need to do is watch the first episode of that, where Sherlock comes in and figures out there's a safe room because of the weight of the floor.
Yeah.
And drops a marble, and you go, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. They almost never do that again.
Yes.
And it is almost poetic. And I think I'm not opposed to the poetic character, because then you have a show like High Potential. Which is about a high potential mother of 3 who starts working for the police force, or the PD, but she then explains everything she's doing. She's, well, this is because of this, and she's figuring it out, and because she is the average Joe, and because she's figuring it out, it's the audience is being taken along with it in a far better way.
Yeah. I was going to make a childish analogy.
Of course you were.
Of course I was. But I was going to say, like, now, and there's other reasons for this, but say Saturday morning cartoons, He-Man, you see He-Man or Adam transform to He-Man in one episode, but they did that every episode.
Sure.
Now you could go, they were saving animation cost to just repeat the same sequence, but everyone wanted to see Adam change into He-Man in the episode.
Yes.
As opposed to He-Man just showing up.
Sure.
And starting to throw his weight around and beat Skeletor.
Yeah, indeed, you could say,
want to see that change.
Yeah, and indeed, you could say that things like in the original Battlestar Galactica or in Buck Rogers, they only had so many shots of fighters shooting at one another.
Yes.
So they cut them up, and so you knew what was going to happen. Indeed, you had seen all the shots before, maybe not in that order.
Yeah.
And it's like,
but you wanted to see those shots in every episode. You didn't want them to go, oh yeah, there's a fight off screen.
Yes, exactly. And indeed, I think back in the day, so you couldn't rewatch the episode.
Yeah,
you could only watch it one time.
Yeah, so you're not going unless you record it to read.
Exactly. So it was. So there's these. I don't know how that connects. But
I know I was getting back to like the fact that the writers, the many writers probably on He-Man, you know,
one of which was J. Michael Straczynski.
okay, but they knew to keep that transformation of Adam to He-Man in every episode,
Sure.
as opposed to just, like I said, cutting that to add more development on He-Man's character. And I know it was a cartoon, but if you could translate that back to Sherlock, it's a case of the writers should have kept him figuring things out.
Yes,
as a more central part of the show.
I guess
is what.
Yeah, I see what the connection you made, because one was a standalone static part, and the other one is quite hard and dynamic.
Sure.
Remember, because if the writers remember to do one thing, right, let's have the scene in. The writers remembering to try and figure these detective stories out, that can be hard.
Yeah,
it's not just
copy paste.
Yeah, so you have the potential in, say, because all stories are ultimately mysteries.
Yeah.
So when you have this character of and the things, when I mentioned this as a kind of the placeholder character, I also mentioned the sympathy for the devil, the idea of as having the devil character, is like whenever they encounter, say you're writing fantasy or science fiction, and you have certain elements, certain archetypes being brought in, you expect them to be a certain way.
Yeah,
and just because they're the devil, or just because they're Sherlock, or just because they have a name, then there's an assumption. It's similar to, like we talked before, about the idea of a vampire. There's a certain expectation of what that thing can do. If someone is actually the devil, then yes, they're going to have powers, and they're going to be able to be
sneaky. They're going to
exactly. And they're going to be
trick people into getting their souls, sort of thing.
They may have people for that.
They got a guy for that.
Yeah, but there'll be a mastermind element. There'll be a trickster element to them. You'll have things that you can presuppose.
Yes,
and the Sherlock character, in my mind, presupposes too much. And what you can see in other writing is people establishing their characters to the point of, this person is the best general, or the best fighter, or the best. So
she's not like other girls.
She isn't. She can do this and she can do that. Which the thing is, they can, whether it be she, he, it doesn't matter. They all it's a gender neutral situation. But then they stop writing what the person is doing.
Yeah.
They establish it and go, that's all I need to do. Oh, they walked into a fight, they won. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
No, I want to see the fight. And the reason why Sherlock is a good example of this is that he is a character who does show, or who has the capacity to do it. So we know he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we want to see
show his work.
Show the workings. So it's
the taking for granted of the individual or the character's skills that we're talking about.
Exactly. And I've now forgotten my final point, which is so great.
Oh,
but we'll walk on. We'll walk back to it in a moment. That by entering these characters into your narrative, or by developing those characters, they take up a lot of room.
Yeah,
they take up a lot of focus, and then you ignore what you want them to have in the first place. You ignore, like, as what you mentioned before, the idea of, well, we don't want to spend all this time doing the detective stuff. We want the romance. We want the will they, won't they. We want the friendships. We want the more personal aspects.
Is that an effort, though, to keep it fresh, shall we say, in terms of they want to provide more to the audience than just he's just a bloodhound that solves problems. They want to. Is that a writer's choice necessarily to kind of say, well, let's advance and let's kind of progress the character beyond the established skills that everybody knows he has?
Well, if it is, then I would say it's a bad choice.
I think so too,
because it's no matter what you have established, I think a story, if it's the case that, like, Well, so because we're on Sherlock, let's take it. Take Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. He was the best fighter ever existed. He loses his hand. He can no longer be that person anymore.
Yeah.
That would be a situation where, yes, there is a change. He can no longer exhibit the skills that he previously had.
Yeah.
Thus, he has to change as a person. So, yes, as a shift in character, absolutely, you don't have to lock yourself in, unless Sherlock has a lobotomy. He's still going to be Sherlock. Now they do throw some kind of, he's obsessive about this, and he has and his
opium addiction,
his substance abuses. Yes, so there is some characterized elements that we throw in limitations.
Yeah,
but when needed, he snaps into place.
Yeah,
it's almost like we're filling some pages. Don't worry, by the end of it, he'll figure it out.
He's still Sherlock, everyone. Stay tuned.
Exactly. And I think that statement there, he's still Sherlock. He's still that person. He's still the guy who's going to figure it out. And indeed, when you have, especially the later series, where you have the sister who is even smarter than him, then and kind of is smarter than Mycroft, and it's like, it's what? No, this is you. You can't, and again, this is not gendered. They could have a younger brother that's smarter than them. There is you've spent all this time going, this person is the smartest person, and we've demonstrated.
Yeah.
Even
time and time again.
Even if we take your point of, well, we established in the first 2 seasons how he does things.
Yeah.
And let's say that's okay, that for another 2 seasons we don't bother doing that. At no point do they then bother to show the explanation of how the sibling does their thing. So it becomes magical.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
It becomes just a thing to be done.
It's like, oh, that character read the script.
Exactly. Yes. The oft use why does this character do this way? Because they read the script.
Yeah.
Why are they acting in this way? Because they read the script.
They read it right to the end and go, oh, I know everything about everything.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah.
So there is
it's a cheat.
It is, and I think that is not, it wasn't my final point, but it is an excellent encapsulation of what we're talking about here. That you basically, whether it be because essentially Sherlock in this regard is a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
But if they're used correctly, then
actually, I think the male version, not that this is relevant at all, but I've heard it being referred to as a Gary Stew.
A Gary Stew.
A Mary Stew being the female, unbeatable, whatever, brilliant at everything, and a Gary Stew being the male version. Not that it matters.
Again, this is not gender specific.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the character who is empowered to the point. Now, and as I said, that whether it be Poirot or whether it be, because this is never said about Poirot, that it's like, oh, it's because he's Poirot. Indeed, in the stories, when he is, oh, but you are the greatest detective, and he's like, I figure things out.
Yes.
And he has, and again, he has an obsession, and he has all this stuff, and that there's a wonderful aspects to that character where he is obsessed with getting things right.
Yeah.
Like I recently rewatched
demonstrates obsessive compulsive disorder.
He does indeed, yes. Yeah. But I recently rewatched Murder on the Orient Express, the Kenneth Branagh version of it, which is lovely. It's fantastic, and the staging of it and everything, and he has to he's conflicting with his own sense of justice. That yes, a murder happens, someone must be held responsible for it. So either he adds to a lie, or he lets everyone go, or he basically gets everyone arrested.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do that because there's, as at one point he says, there's no murders here, there's only victims.
Yeah.
So I have a vague recollection of the Peter Ustinov version of it. So because I haven't read the original, but the Ustinov version, he only figures it out afterwards.
Oh, okay. So that moral dilemma doesn't
exist in that version of the character. Because I think
that's convenient.
What do you mean?
Well, insofar as in that version, Poirot stays, he doesn't have to make that decision. So he's still, he's untouched by maybe making one of those calls one way or the other, which conflicts with his own sense of justice.
No, but
he can't do anything about it.
In the Ustinov version, he is failed.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I haven't seen it either.
No, but because he hasn't figured it out, he's failed.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah,
the
fair.
question is that Pro has figured it out. Knows pretty much knows that someone because of the knife wounds were all kind of, some were shallow and some were more fierce, that everyone's here is responsible.
Okay,
There's no way that this can't be your all fault, because there's a wonderful scene where they're all sitting down almost like in a what's that, Last Supper framing,
Okay.
of all of them at a table,
all on one side of the table.
Yes, they're all, because he's on the other side.
Okay.
So it's a really nice framing. As he goes through everyone, because this is you are the governess, you are the sister, you are the aunt, you are this, and he lists them all off. But in the USAF version, he, again, if memory serves, because he didn't figure it out, he's the greatest detective and he fails.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is perhaps, because I don't know which is in better mind, but in both senses, you have a character who has an ability that is about detection.
Yes.
It's not just waving a wand and going, "I've figured it all out."
Yeah.
And it's these. But to your point about it being cheating, that it is you. And this, because you can establish a character and go, this person is the Mary Sue or the Mary Stew or the Gary Sue. Which way was it?
All good. All works.
It doesn't matter. In this case, it doesn't matter the gender. They are basically given an ability that no one else that defeats the story.
Yeah,
and that I think is the thing, that they hold within themselves the absolute ability to figure shit out, or to be right at the end.
Yeah.
I'll reference one of my own characters in this as a kind of because I'm wonderful and awesome in Parliament Crow. Yeah. One of the characters is Jacob Crow, and he has an ability referred to as the legacy, which is basically when his father died, he got the memories of his father and every antecedent person.
Yeah.
And as a friend of mine said when I told him this, he said, "You mean that he has a memory of shagging every member of his family?" It's like, shut the fuck up. And unfortunately, that's true. And it's like the idea of
that's going to mess you up.
Oh, absolutely. Put a plastic bag, or put a bag over your head. We must shag only once. But because they are a family of monster hunters, every monster they ever encountered, he has a massive insight.
Yes,
but it's not absolute. It's still a single person observation of the world that so his great grandfather encountered the Migo.
He has an edge, but he doesn't have the answers. Yeah.
Yes. And so this means that he is incredibly valuable as a resource, as a knowledge resource.
Yeah.
But he's not always right. And indeed, that's when the character comes in. The idea of there's all these other people in the world who are searching and hunting for monsters and trying to defeat the monsters and trying to think, but why aren't they all together? Because they're not, because personalities.
Yeah. Also, the delicious thing about not all memories are going to be 100% accurate.
Oh, sorry. They do fade over time, absolutely. Yeah. But there is a case that I do grant a degree of certitude.
Okay.
Because given that, I would absolutely agree that in almost every other thing I do, which has memory involved with that, memory is a poor.
Yeah, but this is a supernatural memory, so it's more, I presume, in line with what's stored in the brain rather than what the person could recall at the time of their death.
No, it is supernatural. So
that's what I mean. Yeah, so the brain of the individual still has all these memories stored, and that's what gets passed on. Is it? Yeah.
No. So okay. So a little bit more in story. So he essentially disappears in 1920s.
Yeah.
He's already had a child, but when he disappeared, so they disappeared. The memory didn't get passed on.
Yeah.
To his son. Then his son had another son. His son is now 30 years old in present day. That's Jeremy. And then Jacob comes back. He appears out of a portal 80 years later, essentially.
Yeah.
And he has lost the memory as well. But he has recollection of every memory that he pulled down, essentially, from the collective. Yeah. So in the course of his life, he investigated XYZ. So there is 10, 20 generations of memories going back that when he had access to it, he could trawl through and go, oh, Uncle Jebediah did this, or great grandfather Jebediah encountered these guys before. This is how you kill them.
Yeah.
But if he never previously had that encounter, he wouldn't have pulled down that memory. So in a sort of cloud kind of way, that all these memories exist on the cloud, and only those ones that he had access to previous to does he have recall of. So he still has some recall, but it's only for those missions.
Yeah.
And actually, the reason why this kind of came up in my head is that I'm working on I'm diving back into Parliament at some point in the near future once I have certain things finished, and the third book ends where I thought the first season was going to end.
Yes.
And I've planned out 5 seasons, so I've got a lot of fucking work ahead of me.
Yes, indeed.
So all that's in my future. But the idea is that while inside the story, he is seen as the great investigator, the great mythos investigator. He can figure all this stuff out. He's great. Well, he can't.
Yeah,
and the reader sees his limitations. So, and he sees his process. Going, okay, well, granddad did this, and great granddad did this, and great granddad. So that's where the information was coming from. But it also means that he has to deal with the personalities of all these people going back. And all their other memories and all their other exploits
and attitudes, etc., etc. So it's a case of like you were trying and you succeed in not cheating the reader.
Essentially,
that a wizard did it.
Well, essentially, and that's essentially what so he has essentially magical powers. So the idea of him, because I could have just went, he has full knowledge,
total recall.
Exactly. He has ultimate memory of everything that's gone before. Like when I wrote it originally, I hadn't read Dune. So when you have the Bene Gesserits in that, they do the same thing.
Okay. Keepers of
when and that's why Aaliyah is the abomination, because she gets to get all those memories while she's in utero.
Yeah.
So when she wakes up, she's preborn. I think is the term that they use. But that is supernatural. That's a cheat.
Yeah.
They are giving her access to every fucking memory of every person,
unearned necessarily.
So there is but the thing is, it is a cheat in a way, but they mute it by making her a villain.
Okay.
If you haven't read the books, if you watch the movies, you haven't read the books.
Yeah.
So different things. So the idea of when you're building the character, when you're building your characters, there is if you've made the promise of this is what this character is, this is what the character does, then going to full 100% is unwise, in my humble opinion, and sticks you in a corner. Because if it's successful and if it's well liked, then this is great. This is, the greatest sword fighter ever, the greatest detective wherever, the greatest car driver, whatever.
Yeah.
Then if in the next book they don't get into the car, they don't pick up a sword, they don't show you their workings of how to figure out this stuff, then it's like, where was it?
Yeah, because I know in Night of Gelgara, for example, Rosalind is established as a particularly competent fighter.
Yeah,
like she's a trained knight. She has been training her entire life.
Yes.
But it's kind of measured by her inexperience, and naivety in some regards, like her lack of actual combat. Not complete lack of actual combat, but like when she's thrown into the thick of it in the story, she's demonstrating like that she doesn't know everything.
Yes.
But however skilled that she is, she doesn't know it all, and she still needs to learn.
Yeah.
And experience.
And that establishment means that there's a path for her to travel with, and the audience gets to travel with her. That we don't know how good. Things she may become the best there ever, but we don't. But she's not there yet, and we get to see her grow and develop and have her pitfalls, and maybe it's the point where she whether she loses a hand, for example, or she puts down the sword, or whatever is that she at some point may never become that greatest ever.
Yeah.
It is still
something could interrupt that. Yeah,
it's still striving. It's still a path going forward. So you're in one sense, you're also not emptying the option box for later. In a counterpoint of something that was done badly, in the Name of the Wind, the Patrick Rothfuss book, which I really dislike. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I actually wrote
fanfic.
Well, it's like, so I was inspired by this book.
Okay.
That I wrote, Scriven of Soho, inspired by this, because it's essentially it starts off saying, it basically starts off by saying this the character was the best wizard, the best thief, the best warrior, he was just the bestest.
Yeah.
And this is where the story starts. But so rather than in the case of Rosalind, you hope that she's going to get there. You're willing her to get, and that willing to get there is a far more powerful connection to that person, because if you connect that with that character and go, I want them to do well, then I'm
with them on this.
You embrace their successes, and you suffer their defeats. If you have someone like, hey, this guy's going to be the best, then
you're like, okay, don't need my support.
Then every step along the way is like, okay, every success, of course.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah, it's taken for granted again. Yeah.
And this is just an expression of the best. Oh, he fails. Okay, but we know that it's only a temporary setback, because we already know he's the bestest.
Yeah. I think there was I've seen videos, we won't get in too much into the whole aspect of Shad. And the Shadow of the Conqueror novel that I haven't read it, but
you don't want to.
I've seen enough reviews and things like that to say, like, that's a character that starts off at the best of everything and wins every fight because he's just so star-spangled awesome and just can't fail at anything ever. And that's the actual least concerning elements of his character.
Well, yes,
but you've nowhere to go with that, like you were saying. Yeah,
and indeed, he's there was ways for him to write that story without that element. Now, so anyone who's read this stuff is keenly aware that there is a lot of incredibly, and not just bad, but not just problematic, but incredibly toxic elements in that book.
Yeah,
that there is a metric ton of essay, and it's not even phrased as being bad.
Yeah,
that becoming
justified, I think, at one point. Yeah.
Well, the justification is being a mother is the best thing ever. So how you get to being a mother doesn't matter. This guy is just messed up.
That's why I didn't want to get in. I just
well, absolutely. But I guess it was invoked, so let's push that aside, because this guy is fucked up, and there's very, very rarely would I recommend against something, but this is something I'd recommend against.
Yeah.
But he could have written that book, ignoring that part, as saying this is the conqueror. He is the economic genius that he is, the magical genius is, the warriors and the next person that instead of him basically being reversed in age from an 8-year-old to an 18-year-old,
reversed in experience.
No.
Or no.
You make him a clone.
Yeah.
That he still carries the baggage of everything that person did.
Yeah.
But he doesn't necessarily become that person again. Mm-hmm. So you essentially get to reset.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that I've heard him saying, that this was part of the thing, that he gets to reset. But no, he's already achieved that.
Yeah. And he's moving on in his life rather than restarting.
If the person was a clone or or the son of that he took on the bad, or took on the terror, or the
son of would have worked a lot better. Far better.
Well, both of them serve the exact same function in this regard, because the clone wouldn't necessarily have the same skill set, because it would have to be learned, and you'd still have to go through the same process. You're not saying that this person's automatically going to become the same person that you had before. So you can have, and indeed, clone may be better in this regard, because you have the same genome, you have the same everything,
capacity for
so him becoming a good person, that he would then, like, I love the idea of having of forcing the audience or forcing the reader to deal with a villain.
Yeah.
Or dealing with a hero doing villainous things, or having a villain doing heroic things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a mustache twirling moment.
Yes, cartoon villain
of having the villain do a good thing to go, haha, now what do you want to think of me now? Because clearly you're still an asshole.
Yeah.
But having their actions be kind of, no, this action, like say having a villain save some people because he's killing other people.
Yeah.
So, because at the moment we're at the same side,
Yeah.
Like say his evil army, he's lost control of his evil army. He'll kill off he happily kills off the evil army because he's no longer serving his purpose.
Yeah.
But that's still a good act. I think you can question whether or not how good an act is. That idea of forcing the audience to go, I really like this hero who just fucking committed murder.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've done in both Parliament and in Quantumancy, forcing the audience, forcing the reader to go, this is a character I like. Why are they doing this bad thing?
Yeah.
Or, sorry, not why they're doing the bad thing, but I can understand them getting to this point. I now have to deal with coming out the other side going, do I still like them? Like there
are breaking points for heroic characters as well. You can write it whereby, there's just every defeat or every kind of painful act that's happening to the character can be continuously pushing them to a point where they break.
Oh, sure, but
maybe turn.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree that is one way of looking at it. But what if it's not a breaking point? What if it's just a natural step?
Yeah.
What if it's just that? So kind of the breaking point does imply that they're a different person today than they were yesterday.
Yeah.
What if they're the exact same person?
Yeah.
Like the trolley problem. The trolley problem is a wonderful problem that I love throwing out the idea of, if you do nothing, one person dies. Or so 3 people die. If you do something, one person dies.
Yeah. And
then you have to question, okay, well, you won't throw the handle for it to stop 3 people dying, or to essentially kill one person, but what if it's 5? Or those numbers, that balance of numbers is a thing that everyone will have determination.
Yeah.
Will go, okay, I will happily flick that switch for a certain value.
Yeah, and then the additional question, I think, or a subsequent question to that, after they pull the lever, is, okay, you have to push that one person onto the tracks in order to save those 20 people. That's in that series of questions, and then it becomes, well, yeah, I would or I wouldn't, or
I haven't heard that part.
Yeah, it's part of the follow up kind of. The initial question is the trolley problem. Say 20 people on the tracks there, one person on the track. If you pull a lever, it goes and kills the one person rather than the 20. And whoever answers. And if they answer in the affirmative, oh yeah, absolutely pull the lever, kill the one person, save the 20. Then they go, further investigation into the psychology is, right, now it's not a lever. Now you have to actually push the person in order to save the 20.
Okay. I don't see much in the difference. Except for maybe that someone can
disassociate from pulling a lever as to actually.
Oh, sure, but given the metaphor itself is a disassociation.
Yeah,
is that it is essentially you are picturing in your mind an action causing their death. You're picturing in your mind an action. So I say for a podcast. So you picture an action. I pull a lever.
Yeah.
A person dies. The picturing an action. I push someone. Person dies. There is if that's the way it goes, happy days. I don't think there's much in the difference of it. But so to kind of wind back to our starting point, by crafting a character such that they are too good, and this could simply be a diatribe against the Mary Sue and the Gary Stew. But it is a little bit,
Ray Skywalker,
which was fucking terrible.
Yeah,
because they didn't understand what they were delivering.
Yeah.
There was no there's no, like they tried to do it in the second. I think it was the second where she tries to do some training. And it's like, you've already got there. Well, sorry. There's many. like if you look at, say, the lightsaber duels, whether it be the duel of fate or the last duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and like, if you listen to them talking about it, like I recently went down a not an intentional deep dive, but it was just doom scrolling. I found all these clips of the guys talking about their dueling experience, or their experience while doing these duels. That when Ewan McGregor, when Darth Maul has killed Qui-Gon, and Ewan McGregor is behind the wall. Behind the laser wall, and he starts like bouncing up and down.
Like he's ready. He's going.
And that was Ewan McGregor geeing himself up into this fight, and I was like, we're keeping that in. I was like, I'm going to do it. And indeed, they had to,
because it looked very natural.
Oh well, they also had to slow down the cameras rather than speed up the cameras. They were just they and admittedly you had was it Ray Parks, who was a profound martial artist and judo player. So and the two of them together had this wonderful dance. Absolutely great. You then have the as in the duel between them at the end, between McGregor and
Hayden Christensen.
Indeed, at the end, and the two of them were saying that we knew that so well that it was just, we're having fun with it. And I was like, ding 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 ding, and then you compare that to the utter slop that's come out recently, and these are and actually this is. I think this may appear to be a tangent, but it actually does. I think
it's coming back around to land.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you're then told that Ray is the best duelist, or bestest.
Yeah, naturally gifted.
I was like, that's not there. It's just hacking, and these are not duelists. They're not. They're. You know, if Ben Kenobi or whatever. What the fuck's his name?
Ben Solo?
That's the one. Qui-Gon, whatever his fuck. Or I don't remember his name. Ben Solo is meant to be kind of Vader's kind of, and if they were taught at any point if he was taught by any point by Luke, or he's meant to have the Order of Ren or whatever, these are establishments. You're putting the things in place, and you're not showing it. This is you're even doing worse than the Sherlock who you showed him figuring things out. You're saying they're the best, and you're never showing a justification for it. It's hollow.
It feels unearned. It feels like if you're gonna essentially skip, like if you were given lots of maths homework, and you just put down the answers, you don't get any marks. If you because they just presumed that someone else did the work, because you haven't demonstrated.
Show your work.
Calculation. You haven't shown your work. You haven't demonstrated the calculation. There's no way for someone, an outside observer, looking at it, to tell if there's substance there or if it's a cheat.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so, but I think that's the, I guess the assumption is that that this is a cheat.
Yeah, it will always kind of veer towards, well, you're skipping you're skipping steps here. It'll always kind of, I think naturally, anyone like reading something or watching something like that, you know, if you didn't see Rocky training all that time, and there was no training montage, and he just like shows up and gets beaten, you go, oh, okay. You know, just the whole heart of the story is kind of missing. So how hard he's struggling to get there.
Oh, sure, and because that you also get that compared off as in I think Rocky 2 when he's fighting the Russian.
Rocky 2, he fights Apollo again, doesn't he? Rocky 3.
Is Rocky 3?
He fights Drago.
Drago, yeah. But you see Drago also training as well. And it's the meat packing.
Chasing chickens versus electronic.
Exactly, all the technology. It's like you're comparing that America to Russia in that way. Okay, that's an odd way of doing it.
Russia has all the technology.
Exactly. That's a bit weird. But it was bought in. Because they were.
It's unnatural versus natural, I think.
Exactly. And it did it very well. So there was a decent establishment. And I think, and because we haven't mentioned this so far, it's fanfic. that in fan fiction, fan fiction,
you just have to swallow back the
bile. In fan fiction, you are taking characters that already exist,
Yeah.
also situations that also exist, and then you're writing the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
So why does Harry Potter succeed? Because he's Harry fucking Potter.
Yeah.
Why does Ray succeed? Because she's Ray.
Yeah.
Why does all these characters? Because everyone who's reading the fanfic wants them to succeed.
Yeah. They don't need to know.
They don't need to know the process.
Yeah.
It's just done.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't need to know any other detail about just their name.
Yeah.
And that's another reason, if one was needed, why fanfic was so, why it's, you need to build up, whether it be successful or, as by successful or unsuccessful, I kind of mean that you may not be more successful in describing your characters.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why I guess we will write one story and another story and another story, because we're constantly looking for trying to reiterate, or kind of, maybe like George R. R. Martin is a great example of someone who used the same character names over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That he was essentially telling very similar stories. That there's so many stories about love triangles.
Yeah.
And outside of Game of Thrones, there's tons. Inside Game of Thrones, there's fucking massive numbers, especially involving women with red hair. But that's it. So, but that's him constantly kind of trying to find the best version of those characters, and that's an absolutely fine process.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that those stories were bad. It's just that he didn't reach, or maybe for his own purposes, that he didn't reach the heights that he
was looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. That he needs a little bit more time, a little bit more exploration.
Yeah.
And that's where your fan fiction folk fail, and that's alliteration, and that's
fan fiction folk fail.
Fan fiction folk fail. Another reason why they fail. It's because they're not looking to create works.
Yeah.
They're looking to. It's. I've been struggling trying to find a good metaphor for this. That if they're not trying to create stories, they're trying to create TikToks. As in, you might talk to someone about, I saw this great TikTok. You might send them, this is a great TikTok. And it'll be a single joke. It'll be like a skit. But it won't
have any lasting or meaningful impression or impact on your life going forward, or change your perspective on the world or people around you, or give you a deeper understanding of humanity, or any things like that fiction literature can do.
Well, and that's one would hope. And that, I guess, brings us back to kind of the idea of talent, which we may get back to again in another episode.
Yeah.
That we claim, or at least that I will certainly claim, that I'm very good at what I do. And I would say that you're very good at what you do. That it is that and this is just like an exploration of a single character, that it is by being mindful of that we are aware to create better.
Yes.
That it's not just something that we can just go, fuck it.
Striving to add.
Daring to
add.
Yes.
Hoping, daring.
Daring to be to add something to the world greater than something that's just forgotten. Forgotten tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you can paddle around in the shallow end of a pool and be happy all your life.
Sure, and then this is.
If you don't get into the ocean and dive down, you're not going to see much.
Sure, and I've said before that I doom scroll, so I go through videos, all the way down. There's nothing wrong with dogs and babies. Not dogs eating babies.
No.
Dogs and babies. There are dogs and toddlers, and they're just seeing that interaction is like
cat videos, as they say.
Awesome cat videos. Yeah,
that's fine,
and that's grand, and that does have an impact on you, or you can have an impact from that. But I would hope, and perhaps I'm being too self-centered in this, that I would hope that the work that we do would touch people, would, as we were talking about, the idea, entertaining, touching, provoking, questioning, all these things that we could do. Yep.
And we will leave it there for this particular episode of Fictional Problems. We have so much more to talk about, and so many more episodes to go, I presume. Who can say? I mean, our listener is very keen. Yes.
Hi, Bob.
Bob tunes in every episode. Thanks very much. But yeah, we will leave it there for today, and we will talk to you all, or literally talk to you all.
Yes, talk at you.
And at some later time. Thanks for listening.
Keep watching the sky.